What is up, Rose Pedestrian? In today's video, we are starting a brand new series, and as you can see, we are on the new account as well. If you didn't know, we're doing two new series for this. I'll put a link down below to the World of Warships for Beginners series, where I'm going over like day one stuff all the way to advanced stuff. You can check that out. It's an episodic thing. And then we're going to do another series as well, and that is going to be this Road to Tier 10, where I'm kind of focusing on going through all the lines starting from the lowest tier all the way to tier 10, kind of seeing how fast we can do it, and really kind of doing kind of an in-depth analysis of the lines, which tiers are strong, which ones are kind of lacking. Because, I mean, as a CC on my main account, I have all these ships. I've had these ships for a long time. I get to see these kind of ships the going through and kind of seeing the work in progress stuff. I get to see that, and so it's kind of fun to go back and kind of kind of go over all of this stuff again and really see kind of the strengths and weaknesses. You know, on most of these, when they're work in progress, I can bounce a 19-point captain over, so I don't really get to see the true strengths of these ships as I'm going through. But I mean, even when I'm working on new stuff, like a new line like the Pan-Asian DD line, which is the line we're focusing on first, I mean, I have some extra stuff to bump it to a 10-point captain and, you know, get kind of whatever, run premiums. So the whole thing about this is we will be running this whole series. So we're going to start with Pan-Asian DD lines. Why? Because I think it's one of the more fun lines in the game. It's unique. It's really good at certain stuff. And we started at the tier 2. And with this, we are purely going to be playing solo, as well as we will be, with this series, we'll be running premium time just to see how fast we can get through the entire line. And let's kind of dive right into it. So we started at the tier 2, and I am going to slaughter these names. I'm sorry. But we started off with a tier 2 with a brand new 0-0 captain. So it didn't really matter at that point. The detection was so super low, and basically everybody we were playing against had such a low detection anyway, and no one really had 10-point captains. And I noticed that this ship was just good. Low detection, good torps, and really kind of had a lot of fun with it. We got through this ship in like 2 games, as we'll go over kind of the stats in a little bit. But the tier 2 was just solid, super low, a lot of just a kind of a fun game to mess around with. Downside is basically at low tier there aren't really any battleships to pick on, so you're basically a gunboat, and then torps on cruisers, and there tends to be a ton of, since basically tier 2 is majority of the time only destroyers and cruisers. That was a bit of a downside, not being able to torp other destroyers. We definitely did feel that a little bit. But it's a tier 2. You got through it so quick, and overall, I thought it was a pretty fun ship. The tier 3, the Fra Rung. Again, I'm going to slaughter all of these. One thing, too, I'll talk about what we unlocked as well. We got really lucky and unlocked a super container for 15,000 coal. So that actually sped up this a little bit, and we got some extra flags or extra camos we picked up, and some extra flags as well as the Eagles, Shark versus Eagle stuff going on too. Kind of sped that up because we're getting a bunch of extra coals, so we're picking up some new camos that are helping us go a bit quicker as well. But tier 3, we crackened a lot of these low tier games. We got a lot of high kill games, and that sped it up really fast. Since you are playing lower tier stuff, the skill level is pretty low, but we did get through this. One thing that was a bit of a downside for this that I definitely noticed was we were able to still stealth torp, and at the 5.8 kilometer detection, we were still relatively sneaky, even with camo on. Would be a little bit more in this, and the torps were still doing, although the torps were slow. Once we got kind of working on it, we got a bunch of Confederates and a bunch of stuff like that. Again, I think this only took us 4 games to get through, and we started to notice that the games were a bit harder to carry. We only had like a 50% win rate, I believe, on the tier 3. So if we check that out really fast, yeah, 50%. But we still got through it pretty quick. Again, here you can see the tier 2. We won both games, and we got through really fast, averaging almost 70,000 damage. So that was pretty quick, almost 1,300 XP. And then we slowed down here, less damage, because I felt like it was, I don't know, I felt like it was just the games went really quick one way or the other. So we had a little less XP, which you shouldn't see. You should see kind of a steady increase in XP just as you go up over time. And I mean, basically almost half the damage average. So I think on here we end up going a bit more guns. So most of our damage was towards guns and less damage towards torps. But the other way, it was we ended up kind of smashing everything with torps. But overall, I thought the tier 3 was still fun. Obviously, with a 10-point captain, you'd be even stealthier. I think we just got unlucky on a couple of the games. We probably would have knocked this out in 3 games instead of 4, so we probably lost a game there. But overall, the tier 3 was pretty fun as well. The Shinyang. So this one was actually a funny one, and I feel like this ship is actually very solid overall. But the downside of this ship was actually the starting torps, and it's kind of funny because usually when you talk about torpedoes, you want to be able to stealth torp because you can have that illusion of, you know, being sneaky and them never knowing where the torps are coming from. But actually, the upgrade to these torpedoes is actually losing range, so you lose almost a kilometer, and the torps at 7.3, your detection's 6.3, so you can stealth torp by an entire kilometer. The torps at that standard torps are so slow. I was seeing that I was missing almost all of my torps at 51 knots. They're some of the slowest in the game. So really, this is almost, if you were going through this ship, I would grab the upgraded torps as fast as possible. They go from 51 knots up to 64, which is really quick. And then, although it is only 6.4 knots, you can still technically stealth torp, but I found that as soon as I got these upgraded torps, we started just annihilating everything, and just basically just wrecking battleships that were sailing broadside or sailing in a gray line or whatever. But it was really important. One thing I did notice though is you could probably, if you want to try to get through this relatively quick, and same with like a bunch of these other ones, the 2 and 3 you're going to get through so fast. Tier 4 started to take some time. I think we'll check out how many games it took in a second. But you could probably skip out on the gun increase. It's nice to be able to go a little bit farther, but everything's such close quarters and everything like that. Picking up the torps, I would say, is a must, and of course the hull. You could probably pass on the guns. I just don't think it's needed. And for most of these, we aren't even running premium consumables or even upgrades. You're just going to get through them so fast. But the most important thing was once I upgraded the torps on this tier 4, it was so much better, and I was able to do so much more consistent damage. One thing too I kind of started to notice was a lot of games were, although they were decent, were a bit harder to carry than, let's say, like the tier 2, tier 3. Tier 4, but one thing you could do with this ship is extend the games a long time. That's what I've started to see as these destroyers, that you could extend the game and then farm out some more XP. So a bit of a trade-off there. A lot of stuff just gets annihilated. A lot of straight line sailing battleships. So it's a little kind of good and bad. Your team tends to get annihilated pretty quick. Vice versa, you annihilate their team really quick. And but you could extend the game a bit farther. I think this one was, we held a pretty decent win rate on this if we roll to it really fast. The tier 4, so we got through in 12 games. I remember there was a stretch here where we lost like 4 or 5 games in a row that were monster games from my side. So that multiplier, if we would have won, we probably would have cut it down to 8 or 9 games. And especially if I would have passed on the guns too, that would have cut down on the game. We would have got through this about 3 or 4 games quicker if we would have won those games. But overall, 58% win rate, not too bad. A little bit lower than I wanted to, but I think we had like a stretch of like 5 games we lost in a row that were pretty big. I think one was a Kraken, and one was just a monster game too, like 100,000 damage, but we lost, so we lost out on that multiplier. But overall, I found this ship to be pretty damn good, especially once we got the new torps. I was able to just kind of destroy, and our damage increased a ton. It seems weird to want the shorter range torps, but overall they're just going to do better because the long range torps are so much slower. 51 knots is just not enough. But overall, the Shinyang I think is amazing. The guns hit extremely hard, and that's one thing I noticed with these. The tier 2 and the tier 3 tend to be pretty inaccurate, but the tier 4 really starts to hit hard. The Xinhua, this one a lot of people either like or dislike. I found that this ship, this was kind of a very interesting one, and we got through this one in 18 games, which is still pretty quick for a tier 5. Same thing, 6.4 kilometer torps. The downside is we were really, I think we're at an 8-point captain right now. We didn't have concealment expert, so our detection was 6.6, torpedo range is 6.4. If you've ever played the Farragut, that's the same kind of situation there. But this was one that was kind of interesting. I started to go against a lot of kamikaze R's, Fujins, a lot of stuff that was very stealthy. This is when I really started to notice the lack of detection with this, just because I didn't have concealment expert. So we're starting to get tier 5s. We got down, we were bottom tiered over like we were 60% of our games were bottom tier. Out of our 18 games, 11 of them we were bottom tier, which was not really a problem. I just had to play super defensive because you start going against the tier 5 premiums that are going to have obviously at least a 10-point captain, that you just are out detected by over a kilometer. So there were a couple games here where I just couldn't really get close enough to anything to really make an impact. Although the guns really actually did hit pretty hard, the 120s, although 8-second reload, you just still hit really hard. I mean, 2,500 salvos, stuff like that. You're going to kind of knock those guys out. I had to play really cautious too. A lot of CV games as well, which really I don't really care about planes, but it just kind of kept me spotted, and then people started to focus a bit better. We definitely noticed that getting into the tier 5s. One of the downsides though was just I started to see, especially at this tier, not so much at the tier 4, but at tier 5, that gap in detection. So 6.6 was a little rough. I think it would have been a lot better if we had a 10-point captain, but we're going to just start with a brand new captain along with this line. Overall, though, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, lots of bottom tiers, and we were able to get some more coal as well throughout everything, and able to get some more camos. So we did get through this pretty quick. But just breaking this down, we're actually doing pretty well on this whole account for just these destroyers. So the tier 2 took 2 games. That's pretty normal. The tier 3 took 4. We probably could have cut one off there. This we probably could have got closer to 10, the tier 4. And the Xinhua, there was a couple of games there where I just wasn't able to do anything. But we ended up having a really good win rate in the tier 5 for even being bottom tiered that much. So as you can see, like we averaged over 50k damage, almost the 1350 XP, and then the Xinhua were almost 1700 XP per game at a 47, and that's being bottom tiered over half of our games. So this was actually pretty solid ship. Still, the guns hit really hard. I like that in the line. Maybe the 5 is a bit... I like the tier 4 a lot better. I felt like my impact was a lot more. It would have been interesting to play the tier 5. And then yeah, I'm not like trying to say of course you always get bottom tiered, blah blah blah. I'm just kind of purely with this one. It's this series. It's going to be more of what I'm kind of interested in seeing, you know, on that. So probably a lot of the stuff you're like, oh, of course, it always happens with my tier 5. So I'm just kind of letting you guys know just what I saw throughout this entire thing, because this is just more, I don't even know if this series will be fun for people to look at, but it's going to be a really in-depth run. I want to really break down what ships are good at which tiers, and it's kind of interesting for me to kind of do this because I've just been playing the game for so long, and you kind of check out just ship for ship instead of the whole journey. I've always just been kind of interested. So the Xinhua, however, was pretty solid ship. Again, good damage, good XP, really good XP. We really took advantage of a lot of the capping as well, so that really boosted our XP. I think we could have probably got this a little bit lower. Again, there was a couple of games where I had like 10k damage, just because I was just getting so outspotted or having to go chase down a kamikaze that was just destroying our team. And me going out there just basically wasted time. So there was about 3 or 4 games there where I made basically nothing and got like 1,000 XP on a loss. So a couple that could have definitely bumped up and made this go a bit quicker. But overall, we're at 30, 18, 20, 30 games, and then we're at 36 games. So that's not too bad. 36 games, and we just unlocked the Fusion, the tier 6. So I assume, I mean, of course, as we go higher and higher and higher, we haven't played a game with the tier 6 yet, so we are in the retraining process. I assume that our progress will probably stick with how we're playing right now. I think we're playing pretty solid. We'll stick around that, hopefully 20 to 30 game per tier. So getting at 34 games, 36 games to tier 6 is actually really quick in my opinion. So again, we're going to go through this completely solo. We're not in a clan yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with picking up clans. We made kind of a funny thing of, since we're doing another series on this, of going down a brand new with the USN lines. We're doing the USN lines all together. We're like, I have to get invited to a clan naturally. I don't know what we're going to do because that gives you all the bonuses and whatnot through the clan buildings. But we haven't joined a clan, but what we're going to do with this is just, we're using all the flags we earn, all the coal we earn, we can use in the arsenal to buy stuff, camos, stuff like that. We're not going to just play a premium ship and get that much XP. We're not going to convert any XP as well. And we're only going to use the free XP that we earn while playing these ships. So those are kind of the rules, again, with the premium time. And just kind of see how fast we can get through these and try to show the strengths and weaknesses of these ships. But overall, I think the Pan-Asian line is pretty fun. Again, with the lower tiers, it is a bit of a downside not being able to torp destroyers. You definitely do notice that, and being kind of a weakness. But the things you start to then notice is how strong your guns are. I've always felt like for some reason the Pan-Asian DD lines have extremely strong guns. Just like the Shinyang at tier 4, I feel like I was absolutely obliterating DDs, guns versus guns. You know, you can get relatively stealthy, get into them, and just start beating the ever-living hell out of them. So what you lack in torps, I feel like you make up in guns, and then what you lack up in torps for destroyers, you really kind of make up for in just getting cruisers and knocking out battleships, because they just don't see them coming because of the detection. I mean, even on the tier 4s, detection is 1.1. It's so low. Let me check the Fushins. I think they're all, oh, that's 0.8, and then that's 0.8 as well. So again, so far I think the tier 2 is extremely strong, long range torps. Although they're slow, everything's super slow at that. The tier 3 found to be a bit more of a gunboat, but the torps were definitely there. Still, everything's pretty slow. Shinyang was like, I think, a perfect little mix of relatively stealthy, great guns, and decent torps, especially once we got them upgraded to the 6.4s. The Xinhua, I think, got more outshined by stealthier DDs at this tier, especially being bottom tier, with things that are just going to outspot you. It's a bit of a downside not being able to torp something, or at least putting defensive torps in when you can't even spot the target. So we definitely did notice that at the tier 5, and we'll see what we get into the Fushin. But anyways, guys, this is going to be kind of a more in-depth series. I'm going to keep pushing through this. We're playing this stuff live on the stream, so come check it out. Put a link down below to that. And overall, 36 games to get to tier 6. I don't think that's too bad, and we'll continue on, and we'll see if we can push to the Gaja and all the other tiers and see if we can keep rocking it. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think of the low-tier Pan-Asian DDs. Have you gone down this line? Do you enjoy this line? And what are your kind of strengths and weaknesses that you kind of see this? Obviously, it's a bummer not being able to torp destroyers. There definitely are situations where I would have been able to kill a DD, you know, as they're sitting in smoke or whatever with normal torps. But I feel like what these ships lack in certain things, they make up in others. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoy this new series. I think it's going to be fun for me. I'm kind of a math nerd guy, so it's fun to break down how the XP is working, and I really hope you guys kind of enjoy this journey. So once we reach tier 10, I will let you guys decide the next line. I want to go through every line in the game, obviously besides the CVs. With their, you know, whatever their end of rework is, it's not going to mean anything if we go through it. So it's just gonna be kind of a waste of time, although I don't really like playing CVs anyway. So I'll let you guys pick the next line as we go through, and then we'll just kind of have fun over time and see which line's really quick, see which line's really slow, and break down tier for tier what's a strong ship, what's a weak ship, and what we all think of it. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoy this new series. I hope it's a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it, and I hope you guys will too. But remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.